completely in Hotel 22 by the climax. Like, I was not... Because...
Oh no.
Especially because you sort of assume, based on how you react and the people you react in the world,
Mm-hmm.
you don't... It's almost sort of like a myth of how you think people react, especially in public spaces. But
Mm-hmm.
then seeing that, I was honest, I was taken back quite significantly of just how some people, like, it could be just one guy who was doing it, but I don't know. And the
It
ability
happened
for
a lot.
having one
Yeah.
person to do that just so openly and confidently, I think I think that also pushed me a lot more into the direction of, like, what can people what can homeless people do if even in direct lines of people being horrible, how can they really defend themselves on any platform?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean this precedes Trump getting elected
Mm.
and all the sort of racial hatred that has come out of that. But this was before then, or before I think the media realized that that was happening all across the country. But yeah, it was shocking for me too. But a lot of people are also inebriated on that bus.
Mm.
And
Mm.
there's actually a lot of mental illness on that bus that the film doesn't go into. And I didn't want to go into it because I knew that I couldn't unpack or do justice to
Yeah.
the issue of mental illness
So
without alienating homeless people within a short.
no, that makes sense. And so how? So was there did you so when the filmmaking, especially with Hotel 22 or other films, you just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
sort of there is a difference sort of what you show versus the reality. So how much
Yeah.
would you in your films sort of class, like, do you feel like most of your films still get the base reality? Obviously they get the base reality, but, like, how much do you think are sort of given and taken from how people or how let me reword this better. Sorry. Um, so having the camera there, especially, is people, because you're obviously filming during the situations, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how
Yeah.
much do you think from filming versus sitting there in reality, do you think people changed based on your reactions, based on how
Uh,
you were doing things?
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure people. I'm sure my camera influences the way people behave. But I also so there's I have two beliefs. I The films are heavily edited, and
Mm-hmm.
they are expressing my vision of what I want to say using reality that I've filmed and captured. They're expressing my worldview or what I think is important about what I've captured. There's a version of Hotel 22 that could have been about how there's a lot of compassion for the riders. Like there were really nice bus drivers who at some points they themselves had been homeless, and so they had a lot of empathy.
Oh wow.
But I chose to show the crueler, the crueler drivers, or the more authoritarian drivers, um, or disciplinarian drivers. But so they're definitely very heavy, and to me, they are expressing a truth that I perceive. But of course, in any situation, there's multiple, not multiple truths, but multiple strands of things that you can critique and comment on.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're expressions of what I wanted to critique. And then in terms of like the camera influencing people, I think I know that the camera does influence people, but I also, this is probably the naive part of me, uh, but or the idealistic part of me, I really believe that cameras capture not the truth, but I think they capture. I think people can't hide themselves that much in front of cameras. Like they can change their performance, and it can catalyze them to maybe that guy wouldn't have that thing wouldn't have yelled the racial epithet if I hadn't been there. Because moments before that scene,
Mm-hmm.
he was yelling at me.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, so and I cut that out. But I had also ridden the bus many times before actual production
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to see how people reacted to my. I just want to observe, and then I slowly brought on bigger and bigger cameras, like a small DSLR, and then to see how people react to being filmed. And I noticed there's not that much of a difference between a small camera and a huge camera because once you have a camera, everyone understands they're being filmed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And also their behavior, I think people on that bus were dealing with so much more than a self-consciousness of being filmed. They had so much bigger problems. And so they were very aware that I was filming them. But probably some of them, you know, it didn't change their behavior. And for some of them, it probably did. So it's all, yeah. But I still think even if they are influenced by the camera, I still think it's revealing of something.
Definitely, definitely.
Because we're constantly performing for each other. Yeah.
And even if they, I guess it's sort of an interesting thing. It was like, even if they're not going to be acting the same, it still reveals something about their character as well.
Yeah.
And so, this might be a boring question, I don't know. But how did you initially start? So did you have to get, like how did you get permission to film people on a bus? So personally as well. Did you ask? Or
yeah, so I got a permit from the bus company as a student. As a student. So that's how I did it.
Okay. So it's just...
But I had no idea that it would become like kind of more official because it was on the New York Times. And had I said that, oh, it's going to have this huge audience, maybe I wouldn't have been able to get out.
No, I get that.
But I hadn't been able to fit that kind of place.
No, I get that tactic. I've definitely been filming out in public, and someone's come up to me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm filming a school project," and no questions are asked after that.
I know. Sometimes I think the student project thing is a great. Right now, like I need to, yeah, like for as long as I can milk it.
Yep.
Just kidding.
Like 67. No, I'm doing a school project. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah. I'm back in grad school. Yeah. Forever.
Yeah. Try and milk it forever. Who needs permits anyway?
Yeah.
But especially some of the shots, it seemed very personal. I obviously don't know like how much you zoomed or whatnot, but the shots of just someone sleeping on a bus, and it seemed very close to them. Did people have any sort of reactions initially? Just really like, get the camera away from me, or was it sort of just everyone was just sort of like,
Yeah, I was very close to people. Like sometimes I would be this close to people. And I did that because I wanted the immediacy and the access of feeling like you were right there. And I knew a zoom lens wouldn't be able to capture that. There were, of course, every night I was yelled at by someone, usually someone who was drunk. But because I had relationships with either the regular homeless people who were always on the bus who knew me, or the bus drivers or the security guards, people would defend me because they knew what I was doing. And if someone yelled at me, of course I would be. So I would kind of gauge who would tolerate me and who wouldn't in terms of how close I got. And of course there's something a little ruthless about getting into someone's personal space like this close. But I kind of made constant social and emotional calculations in my head about how close I could get and how invasive it was to them, and whether it was having a negative effect on them or no effect. And then I would back off or get closer depending on what I was okay for them, for the people in front of the camera.
No, yeah. So you okay? So there was like, okay, because the film doesn't, like, I when I was reading up on it, it said you'd filmed over 2 weeks, but like, I guess especially
1 week.
1 week, sorry. But you had established relationships prior, so the bus drivers knew you, the security guards, the regulars, like homeless people who were riding the bus also knew you.
Some of them.
And so, I wasn't expecting. So for some reason I wasn't expecting that. I was almost like, because I guess you would need that to actually be able to do the.
Oh yeah! If I had just shown up with all my gear with a tripod and sandbag. And someone was like, yeah, I mean, maybe it would have worked, but then when I would get yelled at, like, come to my defense. And also, yeah, it's nice to see familiar faces. And like with the people that I had known from before, from my research scouting exercises, then I could get close to them and get those invasive shots because there's some kind of social contract between us for having known each other.